Alright, last time seeing the car with a damaged bumper. They said it'd be good to keep the bumper, so can't wait to get it back. Alright, on my way to drop off the car at the body shop. I've had this car for not very long and it's already going to be in the shop for a good amount of time just to get the bumper replaced. They said it'd only take a week, so should get it back pretty quickly, but you know, there's still a little bit of anxiousness because, you know, they're taking off the bumper for the first time, putting on a new one. Is the fitment going to be fine? Is the paint match going to be too off, or will that be fine? Those are just a few things that like I have concerns about, but at least we'll be getting a brand new bumper with no rock chips on it, obviously no damage. So excited to finally get it done. Once I do get it back, I do have some mods that I'm gonna get put on, especially the mirror mods and some other stuff. But man, it looks good still. Alright, last time seeing the car with a damaged bumper. They said it'd be good to keep the bumper, so can't wait to get it back. Alright, we back out here in the shop. Here it is. It's good to see no damage. Let's check out the paint. Ah, dang. We got this bad boy. Nice. 2 bumpers. Alright, so I got heading home with the car. Do got the OG bumper in the back. Eventually I'm gonna get that repaired. Maybe. Not quite sure. I'll either get it repaired or it'll be the dedicated track bumper. We'll see. But it feels good to drive it again. Feels good to have it back and just get this thing back home. It only was in the shop a week, but man, it felt like a lot longer than a week. So good to have it back, and I'm excited to drive it. I say that like that because it can't be PPF'd for 90 days. I can't ceramic coat it for 90 days, but it's clean, there's no damage. That's what I'm happy about. Alright, so got the car back from the shop. Also, I got a new mic, so I'm hoping this audio is doing pretty well. I happen to pick the spot where there are semis running. I have no idea how this audio is coming out. This mic's supposed to capture everything in front of it and minimize audio beside it, so I guess this is a good test for the mic. But anyways, got the car back from the shop. Finally get to do a video. The differences between the FK8, the FL5. And this is coming from the owner's perspective. So I've owned an FK8, obviously now I own the FL5. So I'm hoping to go over the differences that may or may not bother some FK8 drivers. I'm hoping this video helps, especially to those who were in the same position that I was in which you have the FK8 but you're considering the FL5, and there's just some videos out there that no one talks about some certain details. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, I switched locations because I really wasn't feeling the other one. I felt like I had to talk over those semi-trucks. Alright, so we'll just do a brief overview of the exterior. Really brief differences. A lot. No, seriously though, the FK8 got a lot of hate for having a lot of fake vents and whatnot, but if we're being honest, it's almost the same amount of fake vents. You still get the same brake ducting. So this hole is for brakes. That is a fake vent. just like the FK8 has fake vents on either side. Even though the grills are a lot larger, I've been seeing people still having issues with cooling, so negligible. Both hoods are vented slash hood scoop, so this better at doing the heat extraction, whereas the FK8 was more of a hood scoop that would funnel right out of the side fenders on the FK8. That would, in a sense, help extract some of the hot air also. So virtually the same, though I think this design is better. That's my opinion. Wheels obviously downsized from 20 to 19s. The tire ratio is still the same, so as far as ride quality, not too much difference. Obviously the fenders are wider and don't look like tacked on over fenders. Another thing also is the FL5 doesn't have fog lights, whereas the FK8 does. One thing that no one talks about are the wipers. In the FK8, the windshield washers are mounted here. On the FL5, they are mounted on the wipers themselves. These also don't go up all the way. As you see, it runs into the hood. So with some similar to the newer Hondas, those do have to be automatically pushed up. And how you do that is you just hold the stock up for 3 seconds and the wipers will go up. And just like that. And so now when you're washing your car, now you can lift these up and they'll both stand up like that. So that's one difference that can be annoying, but again, no one really talks about that. And then to bring them back down, you do got to start the car and then just turn the wipers back down. Another difference is the mirror location. FK8 was here, now it's on the door, but it allows better visibility this way, but the mirrors themselves seem a little small. I feel like you can see less in this mirror than the FK8 mirror. At least that was my initial impression right after driving the FK8 back to the dealership to trade it in. But regardless, either way, probably want to get a wide angle mirror, something like a Mugen mirror or the Suma Performance mirror. But these are doable. I've already gotten used to it, so it's not too bad. I still just look around. One of the things with this is, although you get better visibility there, there's like some wind noise I feel like that passes through here that you didn't get on the FK8. Regardless, with the windows down and driving, you get wind noise anyway, but let me see if I can get that on camera. Another thing no one talks about is the fill cap. The FK8 is capless here. The FL5, for whatever reason, they go back to using a cap. Then you just stick it here. Now, the issue with me is that I was so used to the FK8 having just a capless that there are times I leave this here on accident and will go to close and just smash that right into there. So that's just something I'm getting used to. Not a big deal. Another thing, what I do like about the FL5 is the fitment of the wheels, and you can fit a wider tire with less rubbing issues, or at least easier than the FK8, because these fenders are thin. I don't know if you can actually see it, but they are literally like this thin, whereas the FK8, they're wider and they stick out quite a bit more. But here, it's hard. I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but they are thinner and it feels like you can put a wider tire. Both in the back and the front. Both relatively thin. No issues with having to bend a tab back or what have you. Moving on to the trunk and rear area, you still get the triple exhaust, but this is valved, unlike the FK8s, which I think results in generally a quieter exhaust until you obviously open it up or go wide open throttle. Then the valve opens up for a louder sound. But in general, it's a quieter vehicle and it sounds quieter inside as well. It's definitely quieter, especially with the exhaust being valved. It's quieter inside. I currently have the fake engine sound set to comfort just because I don't like the fake engine sounds. I believe the 2021 also had it. It is more egregious in this car, that is for sure. And plus R mode especially, it's loud. I actually considered leaving that on just so I can hear the engine and just to give me a better idea of when to shift, because this car is so quiet. However, I left it in comfort mode just so I didn't have to hear as much of the fake engine sound. We can unplug it to disable it. I haven't gone around to doing that yet, so I've just left it on comfort mode. For me, that was a little bit of an issue because I'm used to a louder exhaust, but even when I switched the FK8 back to stock, I could still hear it a little bit, and it was better to time shifts. On the FL5, it was a little more difficult. I've gotten used to it now that I've had some time with the FL5, but that's one thing for me that I noticed that was a little weird, and I knew I'm gonna need an exhaust, but you know, another time. With the trunk, it is nice, quiet, and it looks like there are some pieces here that help with the stability and sound editing. So when you close it, it just feels solid. It doesn't feel too cheap and doesn't rattle around. One thing that no one talks about either, the handles are different now. On the FK8, you could run your fingers all the way through and like a grab handle, though the issue with that is that sometimes that piece right here would come off depending on how hard you're twisting it. On the FL5 though, it stops, so it's not a full pass-through. Not too big of a difference, but just something that I want to call out. This, or the cargo cover, is still removable, but you can't place it on both sides. This is the only side that you can mount it on, but still removable if you need to. One thing with the wiper on the FL5, I haven't seen it yet, but this is as high as I can go, which actually does kind of suck for washing the car. On the FK8, I know you can lift this up all the way, though it touches the back of the wing. On the FL5 right here, you can't even do that, so just calling that out as well. On the top here, you do lose the rear vortex generators, and they've moved the wiper washer to the glass instead of mounting it on a body colored portion similar to that of the FK8. So not a huge deal, but again, just another difference. The rear portion, there is a additional like little window here that the FK8 doesn't have, which can help a little bit when checking the blind spots or just looking in the rear to see if anyone is in your blind spot. That does help a little bit, and it also provides a little bit of extra light for the passenger side, just to have that little bit of light pass through behind them. All right, getting into the interior, the difference with the seats can be negligible. However, the thing that I found is that these lower bolsters are shorter than the FK8, which I think is a plus because getting in and out of them is so much easier. Yet it still retains the ability to hold you in. The seats are also vented, a lot more vented. The FK8 seats, I believe, were just vented on the sides here, where it was black vents. Here it is on the sides and also the center on both the top and bottom. Another difference is that the seat is split, which I think can be more comfortable, especially when you're always pushing in the clutch and your leg presses down on just this portion. So if there's going to be any wrinkles on the seat, it'll just be on this half and not on this side. All right, taking a look at the door, different door handles. You still get the storage here. However, this lights up, so that's cool. You also get red footwell lighting, which I think is really cool. I was going to do that on the FK8, but on the FL5, it's standard. Now, startup, you do get a pretty sweet animation. I do have the plus R mode gauge. I figure it's just something different. You do get the shift lights, actual shift lights, instead of shift lights on the screen like on the FK8. The cool thing also is the wireless Android Auto. That's pretty sweet. You do get a wireless car charger too. You also get the Log R app standard. I think the 2021 Type Rs get this. But it's pretty sweet to get it on the FL5 also. Also, this infotainment is a lot better than the FK8's. It's faster, smoother. Just the positioning, I did like the positioning of the FK8 where it's down here and not like a tablet style, but that's just personal preference. All in all, this is definitely a better system. Now, one of the things that the FL5 I think does downgrade from the FK8 is storage space. With the FL5, you get this bin here, which does go back pretty much where that iPod touches. And that's pretty much it. Whereas the FK8 You get the top bin, and then you also get bottom storage here. In addition to that bottom bin that you get in the FK8, there's also side storage right here. The FL5, you lose that bottom bin and the side storage over here. So you also lose an additional cup holder. So here you do get 2 cup holders, whereas the FK8, you did have 2 cup holders that could slide, plus a deeper bin right here for bigger water bottles, and that would not inhibit your shifting. In this car, unfortunately, you don't get that. Now, these are set lower, which does help, but still, if you had a Stanley or a Walla, one of the larger sizes, it still gets in the way and is still annoying. Now, you can, if you had this empty, put the taller water bottle here, and that wouldn't be an issue. You get it out of the way. However, again, the difference between here and the FK8, the FK8, if you were to lift up this portion, you still had the side pieces for an armrest. And here, you lift up the whole thing, you do lose that armrest ability, at least padded armrest. Now, with losing that big bin storage here, you also lose another USB that can play music. So you only get this USB port to play music if you wanted to put in a USB or plug in an iPod or your phone. You only get this, whereas the FK8, you had 2 of them, one here and one in the bottom bin here. Another thing with the steering wheel, so this is all perfectly round steering wheel. It's not flat bottom. You lose a lot of those red inserts that you get on the FK8. So this steering wheel doesn't feel as special as the FK8's steering wheel. Another thing is you can't turn off the lights at night. I don't know what circumstance you would need that, but this, it automatically goes to auto. So during the daytime, you can, if you wanted to turn it on, or you just go to auto or off, that's when you can. But at night, I found that you can't actually turn your headlights off. Alright, so here's an example. My headlights are on. If I try to turn it off, nothing. Even if I long hold, nothing. So you can't be riding dark in the dark. Now, as far as MPG goes, MPG in this car is slightly worse than the FK8. I believe the reason for that, because the engine is virtually the same, the tuning is slightly different, though not different enough, I believe, to change the MPG enough. I think the difference is the size of the wheels and tires. 245s on the FK8, a skinnier tire, generally leads to better MPG. So throwing on these 265s on the FL5, I'm getting about a 4 to 5 MPG difference both on highway and city driving, which seems about right even if I were to upgrade to fatter tires on the FK8. Maybe there's a little bit of a difference there, but for the most part, the drop in MPG does seem warranted, just given the additional rolling resistance and more tread on the ground. So for example, the FK8, I could get as high as 36 to 38 MPG on the freeway, whereas here I'm getting, I got as high as 33 MPG. For the city, I think I was averaging 28 to 31 on the FK8. On the FL5, I'm about 26 or so. So the MPG is slightly worse here, and the gas tank is the same. So just keep that in mind. Another thing I want to mention is the mode. So you do get the Plus R, Sport, Comfort, and Individual mode. Individual mode is the best. So Sport mode, go another to Individual, you hit Customize, and everything that I've ever wanted to do in the FK8 I can do in the FL5. It just makes sense. This is a lot better and can really tune the car to how you want it. Now again, as far as the driving dynamics, the shifter is better, it's smoother, and honestly I don't feel I need to change anything with the shifter. I don't know what Honda did, but this is definitely better than the FK8s. The car again just drives smooth, refined. It does drive nicer than the FK8. The sound system in here with that Bose, I don't care what people say, this thing is way better than the FK8. My wife's CRV or her new Pilot, those both had better sound systems than the FK8. And to get the FL5, the sound system is so much better. It's awesome. It is quieter in here. It's a nicer place to be than the FK8. There's less rattles, at least in my car. there's less rattles. Though I've seen some other folks with FL5s say that they're having rattle issues. For mine, it feels solid and feels a lot better quality than the FK8. With the shifting and driving, so the gear ratio for this car is different. I believe it's 4.1 compared to a 3.8 final drive ratio on the FK8. With that, I've noticed that the FK8, I feel like has a lot of driver assistance, especially with the clutch. Driving the FL5, it feels more like a regular manual car, meaning that it doesn't input as much gas or throttle automatically. For example, in reverse, in the FK8, I don't think I had to put in any gas input or throttle input and just control going backwards with the clutch. And this car feels like a regular where you do have to balance throttle and the clutch. Going back to the gear ratio, this I found that you can stay in lower gear longer. For example, going up to 20, I think I would shift to third gear in the FK8, but here I can stay in second gear comfortably. The gearing ratio, although changed, for me it's changed just enough to where the shifting and learning this car felt different. In my opinion, this does drive different from the FK8, just enough to feel like a different car. I don't think they feel exactly the same. Performance wise, they perform the same, pretty similar on track, but for daily driving, I've just noticed that this feels different than the FK8. In this car, I do feel like third gear pulls harder, longer than the FK8, but though that just could be me and what my butt dyno is telling me, but it just drives different is the main thing. All right, so hopefully seeing all those differences between the two help and with anyone trying to make that decision. For the most part, I think if you're super happy with the FK8, I think you should stick with it. I don't think it's worth paying more than $10,000 to go to the FL5. And I've seen most people do that. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think the FL5 is worth over $50,000 either. So if you can get a steal of a deal, or again, if you are in a much better financial position to get it, then by all means, go ahead. With that, what sold me to make that decision was, one, in my opinion, it was a really good deal that I couldn't pass up, and I was in a rare situation in which I was able to get more for the FK8 than I actually paid for, significantly. So consider your situation. Two, the FL5 design really did grow on me. I like the fact that it was built in Japan, inspired by the 90s Hondas. It just holds a lot of sentimental value. I love Japan. I studied Japanese for 3 years, been to Japan, love anime. Pretty much, I like the fact that it was just going to be coming from Japan, built by the Japanese people. That's something that I really liked about it, especially being a huge JDM nerd. I also thought it was cool because when I was in Japan, I did get the FL5 Tomica car, and that was pretty sick knowing that I got the Tomica FL5 from Japan, and now I have the actual FL5 also from Japan. I just thought that was super cool. Which brings me to my next point, the plan for the build. I do want to keep it JDM and JDM inspired. I know it's going to be tough to build it in an original style, especially with everyone else trying to do JDM things. Eventually this is just going to come across some similar builds, even though I like to keep it original and do different things. But we'll see how it goes. I do want raised wheels, JDM exhaust, intake, essentially as much JDM parts that I can get. So yeah, if I missed anything or there's other differences that people have between the FL5 FK8 that I didn't list, feel free to put them down in the comments. Anything that could help someone out there that was in my position make the best decision for themselves. Again, FK8, great car. I never thought I'd trade it in, but the FL5 really grew on me. Both FK8, FL5, can't go wrong with either.